Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a little bit of a cold, but I'm still going to record because I am going to be consistent. So welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Holly. I make inspiring videos for people on YouTube, and today we're talking all about healthy boundaries, what that looks like, and we're going to discuss a few examples in different relationships so that you guys can get a better idea of how to apply that into your own life. Let's define what a boundary is. And in my opinion, a boundary is having the awareness of where you stand and where someone else stands. Basically, being able to draw a line between you and someone else on what it is that is okay and what is not okay. And this is something that can take time and self-awareness to be able to discover what it is that you are okay with, who you are, how you want to show up in connection with other people. But I'll give you some examples of kind of how this will show up in your life. If you're having issues in relationships, if you are feeling burnt out, if you are feeling like people are taking advantage of you, or if you are someone who people tell you maybe you're a taker, or someone who crosses people's boundaries, or maybe you don't have a filter, or people feel uncomfortable around you. These are all signs that you have a boundary issue, or you just don't have boundaries at all. So let's discuss some different examples of how this will show up in, for example, family relationships. So in my personal experience, I grew up very close to my family, and because of this, I had no boundaries with my family relationships. Meaning, if my family asked me to do something, chances are I would drop everything that I was planning to do whatever it is my family needed or whatever they needed from me. This is a problem because what I'm doing is I'm completely putting myself on the back burner and showing up for someone else. And this is weak boundaries. And this showed me that I had no boundaries between myself and my family. Or maybe you're the person who is taking advantage of someone. And I'm not saying this with any judgment. I'm just saying be aware of which side you are on so that you can then learn how to create the healthy boundary for yourself. And obviously this is going to show up in so many different ways in terms of family relationships, but just in my own experience, I've learned that if you're feeling that someone is taking from you or that you're feeling taken advantage of, there is some sort of boundary that is being crossed. So you need to sit with yourself, ask yourself, am I giving too much? Am I taking too much? How can I balance out this relationship, make this a little bit more healthy, to show up for yourself first and then be able to give to others? Because if you're constantly giving and giving and giving without giving to yourself, you're going to feel taken advantage of because you're showing up with an empty cup expecting to be able to give and give and give, and you have nothing else to give. So something to keep in mind. And for any people who may be on the opposite side of this, maybe you're the person who is taking from others, and this could be also because you feel like you need something from someone else, meaning that you're not filling your own cup. So if you notice that you're taking from other people and people are mentioning to you that they feel like maybe you are someone who feels like an energy vampire, and if you're showing up in relationships and maybe taking too much away from someone else, or you're having a hard time setting healthy boundaries for yourself, once again, the answer is to come back to self. Asking yourself what it is that I need. What do I need so that I'm not trying to take those things from someone else? Because once again, if we fill our own cup first, we show up better in all relationships. The next thing I wanted to discuss was actually friendships and how it can look like if you have healthy relationships with your friends versus if you maybe need to set some more boundaries. And for me, this looked like having a healthy connection with someone where the energy is reciprocated. If you are friends with someone and the relationship is one-sided. Maybe you're the person who's giving and giving and giving to that person to the point where you're always planning everything. You're giving to that person and they're not really reciprocating. They're not putting in any effort or energy into you. Then this is not a healthy connection or friendship. And this doesn't mean that it has to be toxic, but there does need to be some sort of balance in order for both people to flourish in the relationship. So if you're in a friendship and you are the person who's giving and giving and giving, take a step back, ask yourself, why do I feel like I need to give and give and give to this person? Maybe you don't feel that you're good enough to have healthy friendships, so you think you have to overgive. If you feel like you are not good enough, you're going to give and overextend yourself for someone else. And this also shows up in the opposite extreme. Maybe you're someone who is on the opposite end of the spectrum and you're someone who you don't plan things, you don't give too much to people because you're afraid if you get too close, if you allow someone in, that you're going to be hurt. This doesn't mean you're a bad person, but it does mean that you kind of need to step back and ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Am I afraid of being hurt again like I was in my past? But recognizing that your past is in the past and that you don't have to recreate those patterns. And the first step in healing that is being aware that you are like that. So no shame to either side, to the person who may be a taker, the person who may be overgiving. Both sides have their shadow aspect and both sides can be healed through awareness. So being aware, looking within yourself, why is there something off in this friendship? And how can we, maybe you have a connection with someone right now, maybe you have a conversation with them and say, how can we create more of a healthy reciprocation in this connection? The next one I wanted to talk about, this one is huge and very, very important, and that is your intimate connections, the romantic connection, and the partners that we spend time with. And these ones I find are oftentimes the ones that we grow in the most if we allow it, because they are a mirror to us on what it is that we need to learn from, that we need to grow from. And this showed up for me in my past relationship, and I realized that I was giving a lot of my energy to them and showing up in a way that I felt like I had to give all of myself before I even gave to myself. So what I did was I would not do things for me that would fill my own cup and then would overextend myself in relationship. And this isn't to say anything bad about the other person or to think I'm not thinking that I'm any better than anyone else, but this is just my own awareness and how I showed up in relationship. And this was because I didn't feel good enough. I didn't think I was worthy of having a connection of equal give and take. I thought, if I don't show up and give everything to this person, they're not gonna love me. And the root of that is feeling unlovable. You feel like you have to do something to be loved, which is not true. The right person will love you for who you are, for your being, for who you are at a soul level, for your energy. You don't have to do anything to be loved. That is conditional love that has been programmed into us by the people, society, and things in our childhood. Once again, no judgment, it's awareness. We can't heal these things unless we bring them into the light. So in romantic connections, take a step back and ask yourself, how am I showing up in this connection? Just like the friendship and the family example, I'm not feeling like I'm drained. I feel that it's a healthy connection. I feel that it's mutual. I feel like I am safe. I feel like the person respects me. Sorry about that, guys. I had another alarm go off, and yeah, I have a lot of them, so happens often. Well, anyways, I wanted to touch on the attachment styles. This kind of goes into a little bit deeper into the reasons why we attach ourselves the way that we do in romantic connections. So the first one is avoidant. We have anxious and secure. So the three different attachment styles, and they all show up differently and they have different wounds that are the causation of why people are this way. For avoidance, oftentimes in childhood, they felt that they loved someone and they were rejected or pushed away to the point where they put up walls and they guard their heart and they don't allow people in. So they literally avoid connection because connection to them equals pain. For anxious attachment style, oftentimes the wound is abandonment. And because at some point in childhood, this person was close to whatever parent or guardian that was, and they felt that that person was always either gone or weren't coming back. So this caused this abandonment wound, meaning that they always felt like they had to be close to that person because they never knew when they were going to lose them. And this obviously shows up in relationship with people who may be clingy, people who have a really hard time letting go, or maybe they feel like they have to be in connection or have to be in a relationship because they're so afraid to be alone. And secure attachment is the last one. This one is where the person has a much more healthy connection. They're okay with giving and receiving love. They don't have a fear of getting close. They're not afraid of losing the person. So these are people who had a much healthier upbringing, and the attachment that they had to their parents was a much healthier connection where they didn't feel unloved. Maybe they didn't feel like they were going to be abandoned, so they were able to have a much healthier relation with people later in their life, because everything is a correlation from childhood. If you've had trauma in childhood, it is going to affect you in some way, shape, or form in the future. So now that I've kind of covered that, maybe you can do a little test on yourself and ask yourself, where do I sit with this? Am I more anxious? Am I more avoidant? Am I a combination of both? Or do I feel like I'm a much more secure person where I don't really have those issues in relationships? So I'm going to give you guys a couple examples of how avoidant attachment style can set up boundaries for themselves. And I personally resonate more with the avoidant attachment style. And what has helped me with this is going into myself, sitting with myself and doing the inner child work on why it is that I believed in my childhood that rejection from someone made me unlovable. So I had to dig deeper and ask myself those hard questions and be able to sit with those emotions of feeling unlovable, feeling not good enough, and realizing that that was only a meaning that I took on based on the experience that I was going through, but that's not true. We are not our past, we're not our traumas. Those are just things that we are here to grow through, to learn from, so that we can become a better version of ourselves. Because my personal belief is that we are all divine, we are all beautiful souls, that we literally are love. There is no such thing as a human that is unlovable. So that has really helped me. And if you are someone who has an avoidant attachment style, try to open yourself up more to connections, allow yourself to be more trusting, and understand that you are not the labels that you've put on yourself from your past hurts and pains. So being able to open your heart up again to love, to recognize that if anyone rejects you, it has nothing to do with you and has everything to do with the other person maybe being emotionally unavailable. So that's all I'll say for the avoidant attachment. Let's move on to anxious attachment. This one I've experienced only because it is very common for avoidant attachment styles to attract anxious attachment, because opposites attract. So with anxious attachment, these people I would say that these people are very close in relationship. Obviously, they seek that closeness. So you'll notice in relationship with anxious attachment, they want to have constant interaction or connection with the other person. You'll find that these people may be constantly wanting to know where you're at, what you're doing. They probably want to be around you a lot more often. These people don't have as much of a problem getting close. They actually find that closeness is more safe for them, and so they're always wanting to seek that connection with you, which is quite funny that, you know, the anxious and the avoidant attachment styles come together. with the anxious attachment style, they're always going to be chasing after the avoidant, looking for that connection and wanting to be close, while the avoidant is going to be constantly running away, not wanting to be close because they're afraid of being hurt. Whereas the anxious attachment style is so afraid that they will do anything and everything to avoid that person from leaving. And just like with the avoidant attachment, the way to heal this is to sit with yourself and ask yourself, why am I so afraid of losing this person? And what you're going to realize is that at some point in your life, someone you loved, someone who you were very close with, most likely your parents, had left and you thought they're never going to come back. And you were so afraid of leaving that person, and this has created this way of attaching yourself to other people. So being okay with being alone, understanding that you can love yourself and that you don't need someone else to love you. So it's overcoming that fear of abandonment and being okay with letting people go. Because I know that for an anxious attachment style, it is very hard for them to release and let go of people. And with a secure attachment, honestly, there's not really as many struggles, and most of these people have a much easier time letting go, connecting with people. So I don't really need to go into detail on how they can heal from that. And like I mentioned, all of these things can be healed and integrated within yourself, and you can become a lot more confident in yourself by doing the work on yourself, by going into those things that you may have been running from your whole life. These things that have hurt us in our past that we literally do everything that in our power to avoid. We are out here, drinking alcohol, or this is excessive, but like drinking alcohol, doing drugs, and all these things are all coping mechanisms to run away from our pain. And even positive things can be coping mechanisms in your life. I personally used exercise as a coping mechanism. I was over-exercising to cope with insecurity. I would be using food to comfort myself from emotions that I didn't want to feel. There's so many different things. And if you are using anything in your life, even positive things, to escape, then that is a coping mechanism. So take a look at your life, ask yourself honestly, am I doing anything that is preventing me from seeing the pain or looking at that inner child that just needs to be seen and loved so that I can move forward in my life in a much more harmonious way? And just know that you doing this work is going to be so freeing for yourself, and you're going to have much deeper, more meaningful connections in your life, and it isn't as hard as you may think. Yes, it is scary because your body doesn't want to revisit those pains and hurts, but once you do it, you are completely liberated. You're going to feel like a new person, and it is just such a beautiful experience, and I wanted to share that with you guys. And I feel like I just went off on a tangent. Obviously, I can talk for hours about this stuff. If you guys want any more videos specifically on anything else I discussed in this video, please let me know down in the comments. Give the video a like, it really does help my channel. Subscribe for more videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!